Hi there, I'm Carmen from Minerva, and if sewing up a stylish pair of pants is on your list this year, then look no further than the Safran Pants sewing pattern from Deer Doe. These narrow fit trousers can be made in denim for skinny jeans or out of a stretch cotton for a casual trouser. Today I'm going to be showing you how to sew up view A, which has back pockets, belt loops, and a little bit longer of a length. But if you'd rather go for a more pared down look, you can go with view B, which doesn't have the back pockets or belt loops and has a cropped ankle length. The sewing process is almost identical for both, you'll just be skipping the steps for the back pockets and the belt loops for view B. If you love the Safran pants that I made today and want to make yourself a pair just like mine, everything that I use to make these pants is tagged down below. Alright, let's get into the sewing. But of course, before you start sewing, you'll need to figure out what size you are so you know which size of the pattern to cut out. For this pattern, you'll need to take your waist and hip measurements. Take your waist measurement around the smallest part of your waist and your hip measurement around the widest part of your hips, which is usually right around the fullest part of your bum. Then choose the size in the pattern that most closely corresponds to your measurements. If you fall into a different size on the waist than you do on the hip, you may have to grade between sizes to get the best possible fit. Once you've chosen your size, it's time to gather up your supplies and start cutting out your pants. For this project, you'll need a woven fabric with at least 20 to 30% crosswise stretch, a lightweight cotton lining fabric, fusible knit interfacing, the Safran Pants sewing pattern, a 6-inch zipper, matching thread, and a 5/8 inch button. Next, you'll need to cut out all the pattern pieces in your size, but before you can cut out the pocket facing piece or the front piece, you'll have to trace the pocket facing piece onto another piece of paper or tissue paper because it overlaps the front piece on the pattern. So I went ahead and traced out my pocket facing piece onto tissue paper and cut it out from there, and then I cut the front pant leg out, cutting through the original pocket facing piece. Next, you'll need to cut out the pieces of your pants from your fabric, lining, and interfacing. You'll want to cut 2 front pieces from your fabric, 2 back pieces from your fabric, 4 front waistband pieces from your fabric, and 4 from your interfacing, making sure to cut 2 on the left front cutting line and 2 on the right front cutting line, 2 back waistband pieces from your fabric and 2 from your interfacing cut on the fold, 1 fly shield piece from your fabric, 2 welt pieces from your fabric, 2 pocket facing pieces from your lining, 2 pocket pieces from your lining, 2 pocket top pieces from your fabric, 2 back pocket pieces from your fabric, and 5 belt loop pieces from your fabric. With your pieces cut, it's time to start sewing. First, grab your pocket top pieces and finish the lower edge with your serger or a zigzag stitch right along the raw edge. Once your pocket top pieces are prepared and the lower edge is finished, grab your pocket pieces and lay them with the right side facing up. Then pin the pocket top pieces to the top of the pocket pieces with the wrong side of the pocket top piece against the right side of the pocket piece. Each pocket top piece should line up perfectly along the top of each pocket piece. Once pinned, top stitch around all 4 edges of each pocket top piece 1/4 inch from the raw edge to secure them to the pocket pieces. Next, we need to prepare the front pieces for the pockets. So, on the wrong side of the front pieces, draw in the stitching line 5/8 inch from the raw edge along the 2 pocket edges opposite the fly. Next, grab your 2 welt pieces and fold them in half lengthwise with wrong sides together. Then give them a nice pressing with your iron. Then pin each welt piece to the right side of the corresponding front piece along the lower pocket edge. Make sure that the folded edge of the welt is facing downwards and the raw edges of the welt are lined up with the raw edge of the front piece. The welt piece should overhang by 5/8 inch along the outer leg of each front piece. Next, grab your pocket facing pieces and place them right sides together with the front pieces, lining them up along the pocket edges. Pin them in place. The welts will be sandwiched in between the pocket facings and the fronts. Then, sewing from the wrong side of the fronts, stitch along your lower marked stitching line. Stop sewing when you reach the corner of your marked stitching lines. Once you have your lower stitching line sewn, grab your scissors and clip into the corner of the seam allowance, clipping right up to your stitching but making sure not to cut through it. Then pivot the upper pocket edge of the fronts downwards, pulling the corner of the welt out into the notch. Line up the short edge of the welt along the upper pivoted edge of the fronts and pin it in place. The short edge of the welt should extend about 5/8 of an inch into the fabric of the front. Once pinned, stitch along the upper marked stitching line, being very careful at the corner not to catch any excess folds of fabric. Your two stitching lines should just barely meet at that corner. Once stitched, flip the pocket facings to the wrong side of the pant front pieces and give them a good pressing with your iron. Once you're happy with how nice and pressed flat your pockets are, top stitch through the fabric of the front and the pocket facing right below the lower edge of the welt. Next, lay your front pieces wrong sides up on your table. Then grab your prepared pocket pieces and place them right sides down onto the pocket facing on each front. Carefully line up the edge of the pocket with the edge of the pocket facing. Then pin the pockets to the pocket facings, making sure to pin only through the fabric of the pockets and the pocket facings, not through the fabric of the front of the pants. Once pinned, stitch the pockets to the pocket facings along the long curved edge, stitching with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Be very careful that you're only going through the fabric of the pockets and the pocket facings and not going through the fabric of the front of the pants. Once the pocket pieces are attached, flatten and pin that vertical pocket edge to the pocket below it. Then top stitch through all the layers along that vertical pocket edge, sewing about 1/8 of an inch from the seamed edge. Next, align the pocket edges along the top and sides of the fronts and pin them in place. Then set your machine to a long basting stitch and, stitching 1/4 inch from the raw edges, secure the pockets to the fronts along the top and side edges. Your pockets are now sewn. Aren't they just so pretty? I love how the welt detail just gives the pants an elegant, sophisticated look. The final step for preparing the front of your pants to be sewn is to apply fusible interfacing to the fly area on the wrong side of each front piece. Next, let's prepare the back pieces of the pants. First, grab your back pocket pieces and transfer the upper fold lines from the pattern to the pocket pieces. You can do this either by clipping along each end of the lines or by simply drawing in the lines with a fabric pen or marker. Once your fold lines are marked in, finish the sides and bottom edges of the pockets with a serger or a zigzag stitch. Then fold the upper edge of each pocket piece to the wrong side twice, following the fold lines you transferred from the pattern. Once folded, give it a good pressing with your iron to hold it in place. Then top stitch along the lower folded edge of the pocket pieces, stitching about 1/8 of an inch from that lower fold. Next, carefully fold in the sides and bottom edges of each pocket by 5/8 of an inch and press and pin it in place. Then top stitch 1/4 inch from the edge along the sides and bottom edges of each pocket. Pin each back pocket to the right side of one of the back pieces, lining up the pocket with the pocket alignment marks from the pattern. Once pinned in place, secure the pocket to the pants by top stitching 1/8 inch from the edge along the sides and bottom edges of the pocket pieces. Your back pockets are now attached, and it's time to start putting together the legs of the pants. Start by placing one set of front and back legs right sides together and line them up along the outer leg seam. Pin them together along the outer leg seam, making sure that you're matching up the notches as you do. Once pinned, stitch the outer leg seam with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Once stitched, finish the seam allowances together with a zigzag stitch or your serger. Then press the seam allowances towards the back pant leg and top stitch the seam allowance to the pant leg, sewing 1/4 inch from the seam. This will create the look of a flat felled seam without having to go to the work to create an actual flat felled seam. Next, align the pants along the inner leg seam with right sides together. Pin the inseam, making sure to match the notches. Then take the pant leg back to your sewing machine and stitch the inseam with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Once stitched, again finish your seam allowances together with a zigzag stitch or a serger. Then press the seam allowances towards the back pant leg. You now have one of your pant legs sewn. Repeat that entire process to stitch the other front to the other back to form your other pant leg. Once you have both pant legs sewn, turn one of them right sides out, leaving the other pant leg inside out. Then insert the right side out pant leg into the inside out pant leg and line them up along the crotch seam. Pin the crotch seam along the back and the front up to the start of the fly. Once pinned, take the pants to your sewing machine and set your machine to a triple stretch stitch. This stitch has the look of a straight stitch, but is much stronger and still allows the fabric to stretch without the seam popping. Stitch the crotch seam with a 5/8 inch seam allowance all the way along the back crotch and up the front crotch to the marking at the base of the fly. Once again, finish your seam allowances together with a serger or a zigzag stitch, making sure that you stop when you reach the fly. With the crotch seam sewn, you can pull the inner pant leg out of the other pant leg, and you now have what's really starting to look like a pair of pants. Next, we need to start putting together the zipper fly. So grab your fly shield piece and fold it lengthwise with wrong sides together and give it a good pressing with your iron. Once pressed, finish the 3 raw edge sides of the fly shield with your serger or a zigzag stitch. Next, pin the zipper to the serged long edge side of the fly shield with the front of the zipper facing up away from the fly shield. Make sure that the top zipper stop is 3/4 of an inch from the top edge of the fly shield. Once you're happy with the placement, pin the zipper in place. Once pinned, use a zipper foot to stitch the left side of the zipper tape to the fly shield. With the pants inside out, clip into the seam allowance at the base of the fly, clipping up to but not through your stitching line. This will free the fly from the already finished seam allowance below it. Then fold the left side fly extension along the seam line and fold the right side fly extension 5/8 inch over from the seam line. There are notches at the top of the fly to help you line this up, so the left side extension should be folded along the innermost notch, and the right side fly extension should be folded along the notch closest to the edge of the fly. Carefully press the two fly extensions in place with your iron. If you've got it pressed correctly, the fly extension on the right-hand side should overlap the fly extension on the left-hand side from the wrong side of the pants. Once you're happy that it's pressed correctly, turn the pants right sides out. Fold the right side of the fly down and out of the way, then grab your zipper that's already sewn to the fly shield and place the left side of the zipper tape underneath the fabric along the folded edge of the left side of the fly. Line up the folded edge of the front along the zipper teeth and pin it in place. The top of the fly shield should line up with the top of the fabric of the front. Once pinned, use a zipper foot on your sewing machine to stitch the front to the left side of the zipper tape, sewing right along the teeth of the zipper. Then, once again, turn the pants inside out. Line up the fly so that it's laying flat and the top edges of both front pieces are aligned. Once you're happy with the placement of the fly, pin the free side of the zipper tape to the other side of the front. It should be pinned somewhere around the center of the fly shield. Set your machine to a basting stitch and stitch the zipper tape to the other side of the fly, sewing right along the zipper teeth. Make sure that as you sew, you push the fly shield out of the way so it doesn't get caught in your stitching. Turn the pants right sides out again. Using a fabric pen, mark in a curved stitching line for the fly. Make sure that the long edge of the stitching line goes right along your basting stitches and the lower curved edge of the stitching line falls below the zipper stop. I used the fly extension on the pattern piece as my guide for my stitching line, but you can really mark in this stitching line however you want. Unzip the zipper and stitch along this marked stitching line, making sure that the fly shield is pulled to the left and out of the way so that it doesn't get caught in your stitching. Finally, carefully remove the basting stitches from the right side of the fly and stitch a bar tack or a small zigzag stitch sewn several times in the same place at the very bottom of the zipper to reinforce it. You've now fully sewn the fly on your beautiful Safran pants. It's time to move on to the waistband. Before we can start sewing the waistband, you'll need to apply your fusible interfacing to the wrong side of both back waistbands and all 4 front waistband pieces. Next, pin one long front waistband piece and one short front waistband piece to each short end of the back waistband pieces. Make sure that on one piece the long front waistband piece is on the right and on the other one it's on the left, so that they will be mirror images of each other. Once pinned, stitch the waistband fronts to the waistband backs along the short edges with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Then press the seam allowances open with your iron. You now have 2 mirror image waistband pieces. Go ahead and set them aside for now, and we will prepare the belt loops. Start by folding the long edges of each belt loop piece in towards the wrong side so that the raw edges meet at the center. Press this in place. Then fold each belt loop in half lengthwise again so that the raw edges are hidden on the inside of the belt loop. Press them nice and flat with your iron. Finally, top stitch 1/8 inch from the folded edge along each long edge of the belt loops. Your belt loops are ready to go. Next, grab the outer waistband piece, which is the one that has the longer front waistband on the right-hand side. Place the 5 belt loops along the upper edge of the outer waistband piece, lining them up with the marks from the pattern. Pin each belt loop in place. Then, take it to your sewing machine and, using a long basting stitch, stitch each belt loop to the outer waistband along the upper edge, sewing 1/4 inch in from the raw edge. With the belt loops attached, place your outer waistband right sides up on your table. Then lay the inner waistband on top of it with right sides together. Line them up and pin them together along the upper edge and the short side edges. Leave the lower edge free for now. Using a seam gauge or a ruler, measure and mark 5/8 inch from the bottom along each of the short ends of the waistband. Then stitch the waistband pieces together along the short ends and the top, starting and ending at your marks. This will leave the bottom 5/8 inch along each side unstitched. Once your waistband pieces are stitched together, trim away the upper corners on each end of the waistband to reduce bulk. Just make sure not to accidentally cut through your stitching. Turn the waistband right sides out and use a point turner to push the corners out for nice crisp corners. Then press the waistband nice and flat with your iron. It's time to attach this beautiful waistband to our Safran pants. So grab your pants, making sure that they're right sides out. Then pin the raw edge of the outer waistband to the raw edge at the top waistline of the pants. Make sure to fold the fabric of the inner waistband down and out of the way so that it won't get caught in your stitching. The most important thing to keep in mind as you pin your outer waistband to your pants is to line up the side seams of the waistband with the side seams of the pants. Once pinned, stitch the outer waistband to the waistline edge of the pants with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Make sure that you're not catching the fabric of the inner waistband in your stitching. Once sewn, flip the waistband up and away from the pants and press it flat. Make sure to press the seam allowance up into the waistband and away from the pants. Once you've got your waistband pressed nice and flat, take it back to your iron and press the lower edge of the inner waistband up by 5/8 of an inch, pressing the raw edge to the inside of the waistband. The folded edge of the inner waistband should just cover the stitching line, attaching the waistband to the pants. Go ahead and pin the waistband in place along that lower edge. To secure the waistband in place, turn the pants right sides out so that you're sewing from the right side and top stitch along all 4 edges of the waistband, sewing 1/8 of an inch in from the edge of the waistband along each side. This stitching should catch the lower folded edge of the inner waistband, holding it in place. We're down to finishing touches here on our Safran pants, so the next step is to fold the raw edge of each belt loop to the inside by 3/8 of an inch, then fold it down over the waistband and pin it to the fabric of the pants below the waistband. Once you have all your belt loops folded down and pinned in place, take the pants to your sewing machine and stitch along the lower folded edge of each belt loop, sewing back and forth across the belt loop 3 or 4 times to make sure it's very secure. With the belt loop sewn, it's time to move on to the hem. Turn the pants inside out, then fold the fabric of each hem to the wrong side by 3/8 of an inch twice. This will hide the raw edges inside of the hem. Press and pin your hems in place, then top stitch them, sewing 1/8 of an inch in from the folded upper edge of each hem. Finally, try on your pants and mark the placement of the button and buttonhole that best works for your body. I find that this works better than just using the button and buttonhole placement markings from the pattern. Once you're happy with the placement of the buttonhole and button, go ahead and stitch them onto your pants. And you're done. As you can see, sewing up pants can be more straightforward than it seems. Here's how the finished Safran pants turned out. Don't forget that everything I use to make these pants is tagged down below to make it easy for you to make your Safran pants. If you have any questions as you go through this tutorial, don't hesitate to leave a comment down below so that we can help you out. Thanks for watching and happy sewing!